Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela and we are the Castros. Happy Monday.
Yes,
and
it's a
of
Monday
course,
today and it's Sona Day.
Yes. Oo. So
Kaya
alamin
nga,
nila yung mga magiging topics natin today. Ano ba yung gusto niyong malaman, 'di ba, sa ano yung lalamanin ng speech ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos later?
natawa ako sa isang reaction daw sa isang jeepney driver eh.
Bakit?
Nung tinanong siya nung manonood siya ng Sona, sabi hindi mo niya makakain yung TV. Hindi na daw siya manonood.
O yeah, top concern pa rin ng mga kababayan natin.
Transportation, inflation,
pagtaas ng sahod.
specifically sa inflation, yung food basket natin.
Yes.
Oo. Kasi nag-slow down ng inflation sa other aspects ng inflation basket except food. Food continues to get more expensive by the day.
This is going to be the third Sona of President Bongbong Marcos.
And I
At
think
ito din yung sinilan time.
ito yung third Sona pa is yung pinaka less unified Sona
Yes.
as we would have wanted.
Yes, this is going to be the first Sona without VP Sara
Yes,
attending. First Sona niya bilang isang presidente, solely bilang presidente na hindi na siya agriculture secretary, no? Kasi 'di ba, for yung pag-upo niya siya yung muna yung naging agriculture secretary. And of course, this is going to be his last Sona before the midterm elections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. We're serving you news in a countdown.
All that before your second cup of second cup of coffee. This is Brunch. Thousands of police were deployed around Batasang Pambansa ahead of President Bongbong Marcos's third State of the Nation address, or SONA.
To get the latest on the ground, we have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes live from Batasang Pambansa Complex in Quezon City. Merimon, good morning. Kamusta naman ang sitwasyon dyan ngayon?
Good morning, Angela. Kanina nga lang actually nung pagpunta natin dito, pasado mga alas 6 pa lang, medyo mabagal na agad yung daloy ng trapiko, lalong-lalo na mula sa QC Memorial Circle hanggang sa kakabaan nga ng Commonwealth. However, nakakalat naman ng mga security officers at mga traffic enforcers, lalong-lalo na sa kakabaan ng Commonwealth, papunta nga dito sa Batasang Pambansa Complex. Bukod din doon sa mga designated areas for protests and rallies, naobserbahan din natin na may mga nakakalat na rin na nakahile-hilerang mga nagpo-protesta, lalo-lalo na sa harapan ng Home Depot Commonwealth. Pero so far naman regulated at kontrolado pa yung sitwasyon doon dahil may mga nakahilera din ng mga pulisya mula sa QCPD, PNP, tsaka sa mga PPO. Nandito yung nakita natin kanina mula sa Rizal, Laguna, Cavite, lahat sila nagsasama-sama rito. Pero kasabay nito, iba pa sa mga security measures na isinasagawa para dito ay yung 3-day nationwide gun ban na ini-implement sa NCR. Nagsimula ito July 20 hanggang mamayang hating gabi. Pati ang liquor ban na matatapos mamayang 6 p.m. at ang suspension ng klase public and private schools at sa lahat ng antas para nga magbigay daan dito sa SONA. And bukod nga doon, mahigpit din na sinisilip lahat ng pumapasok dito, identity, lahat ng gamit na binibitbit para nga masigurado na walang binibitbit na sharp objects at iba pang mga pinagbabawal na items. Wala pa tayo ibang mga nasisilip na dumadaan dito nga sa red carpet kasi medyo maaga pa. Pero inaabangan din natin kung meron bang mga protest fashion tayong masisilip dito dahil medyo hati nga yung usapin tungkol dito. Sinasabi ng kabilang panig, isa raw itong pagtapak sa freedom of expression, yung pagbawal nito sa araw ng SONA. While on the other hand, sinasabi naman na isa raw itong paggalang para sa araw na ito. Balik sa inyo.
Merimon, I'd like to ask na kung napansin mo yung sa may entry points ng Batasan, yung para sa mga kotse. Sabi daw nila, they have new security measures in place na medyo modern na daw ngayon. Napansin mo ba ito?
So far sa dinaanan kasi natin, ang nakita lang muna natin doon is yung rerouting scheme na ginagawa ng MMDA. Merong ibang mga daanan na kailangan mapuntahan para nga hindi maapektuhan yung daloy ng traffic. Lalo na dito sa Commonwealth.
Uy, yun, may ganang tsachapi na si Merimon
Oo nga Merimon, tanong ko lang para mas klaro tayo, anong area yung kung saan po pwedeng mag-rally yung anti-PBBM administration and yung pro naman, saang area din sila po pwedeng mag-rally? Merimon? Ako, nawala na. Na-signal jam na ba sila?
Kasi
di ba usually
every Sona, there is a signal jammer that shuts down yung mga mobile Wi-Fi and also mga signal ng cellphones because yung mga cellphones ginagamit karamihan yan sa mga to activate yung mga, we're not saying na may bomba but to activate devices, di ba?
Yes.
So during the Sona times, until matapos
Protocol na yan,
protocol si Presidente, naka-jam yung mga signal. Oh.
Okay, nandiyan na ba si Marymon? Narinig mo ba yung tanong ko kanina? Marymon?
Yes, Angela. Actually, medyo nagkakaroon ngayon ng changes sa kung saan pumapwesto ngayon yung mga designated areas for protest. Yung iba na banggit nga na nasa may COA siya. Pero ngayon kasi sisilipin ng ibang mga mojos din kung saan nalilipat yung mga pwesto ng mga magpoprotesta pareho anti tsaka pro Marcos administration. Pero nakita nga natin may mga ilan na rin daw mga effigies na sinusunog na isa na ito agad na pagbibigay na ng mensahe para sa araw na ito.
Yung catering dyan, nandyan na ba? Nakita mo ba?
Hey, Marymon,
Wala pa naman sa ngayon. So far, ang nandito pa lang media.
of course, comparatively, ang dami nagsasabi daw, Marymon, this year daw, mas mahigpit ang pinapakitang security around Batasan Complex and even along Commonwealth Avenue. Is that, napansin mo ba yan, Marymon, na may difference from last year's Sona?
Actually, pagdating sa parang heightened enforcement dito ng security measures, di hamak naman na halos pareho siya, pero mas marami talaga ang presensya ngayon ng hili-hilirang mga pulisya. Even first aid stations, mga ambulansya, nakakaalat talaga siya along Commonwealth area hanggang papalapit dito sa Batasan Pambansa Complex. Even mga bumbero, nakakalat din sila. And yung mismo mga PNP, sila mismo mga manpower, nakakalat din sila. Pero marami silang ginagawa dito na parang function. Tinutulungan nila yung daloy ng trapiko. At the same time, inaantabayanan din nila yung dadami, yung daragsang tao para nga sa mga magpoprotesta at mag-rally. At the same time, magbibigay ng assistance para nga sa mga maiipit sa traffic o kaya yung mga walang ideya na merong rerouting scheme na ginagawa ang MMDA para nga magbigay daan dito sa Sona. Balik sa inyo.
Oo, tulad nga ng sinabi mo kanina, wala pang pumupunta dyan, masyado pang maaga,
Yeah,
di
maaga
ba?
pa.
So we cannot ask you that. So ganito na lang, no, siguro reminder na lang sa ating mga kababayan para dun sa mga malapit dyan o yung pupunta dyan sa area, baka you can give us a reminder sa Marymon.
Yes, mga ilang paalala lamang po, meron tayong liquor ban na kailangang respetuhin at sundan hanggang alas 6 ng gabi po yan ngayon. Pati rin ang nationwide gun ban na ini-implement sa NCR hanggang mamayang hating gabi. Kasabay nito, paalala rin po sa mga magulang na may mga anak na nag-aaral pa. Suspended po lahat ng klase, public and private, sa lahat ng antas dito sa Quezon City. At the same time, para sa mga dadaan po dito along Commonwealth at sa QC area, sarado na po sa mga pampublikong transportation o mga vehicle ang Batasan IPP Road. Kaya mabuti pong silipin ang official page ng QCLGU at ng MMDA para malaman ang rerouting scheme para makadaan po tayo nang hindi naaapektuhan sa daloy ng trapiko o makukompromiso yung oras ng pagbiyahe natin. Pero para sa mga dadalo naman dito sa Batasan Pambansa Complex para sa Sona mismo, siguraduhin po na meron tayong identification IDs para masiguro po yung ating mga personality tsaka yung identification. At the same time, yung mga ipinagbabawal po na bagay, iwan na lang po natin sa ating mga tahanan tulad po ng mga matatalim na objects at saka yung sinasabi nga po natin mga firearms.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyo. Our mobile journalist, Marymon Reyes, live from Batasang Pambansa Complex in Quezon City. Okay. So this is going to be the biggest Sona ever, sabi nila, kasi 2,000...
For PBBM or
for
ever?
PBBM, 2,000. Hindi, actually, oo. Kasi 2,000 yung guest eh. Di ba remember, during naman nung panahon ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, especially nung 2020 and
kasi
2021,
pandemic
hybrid yun eh. Dahil
Pandemic,
pandemic, di ba? Parang only 350 people lang yung pinayagang pumunta sa
Yeah.
Batasang Complex. Tapos the rest ay via Zoom na lang yung panood or through mga TV networks. Alright, sige, let's continue na sa ating mga pagbabalita.
Okay, President Joe Biden announced that he will not be running for re-election. In a statement, he expressed his support for Vice President Kamala Harris, endorsing her as the candidate to lead the country forward. Here's the report.
President Joe Biden Sunday afternoon saying he's dropping out of the race for president, but will remain in office until the end of his term. The president posting a letter on X saying, quote, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
I think today we should focus on Joe Biden's incredible legacy of service to our nation, his selflessness, his accomplishments, in his decades in the Senate.
In a separate post, he went on to say that he is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee.
I fully support Kamala Harris. And in fact, she's been trained by the best. Joe Biden was a vice president himself, and so she probably had the best mentor.
The announcement following weeks of mounting concerns over Biden's stamina and age. Calls for him to depart the race came after a widely criticized debate performance hosted by CNN less than a month ago. The president said he will address the nation later this week. He's currently isolating at his home in Delaware after testing positive for COVID Wednesday, just before he was supposed to speak at an event in Las Vegas. The Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, responding to the news on Truth Social, saying, quote, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was. It has been decades since a sitting president has decided not to seek re-election and drop out of the race. The last was Lyndon Johnson in 1968. At the White House, I'm Karen Kefa reporting.
Big news indeed. Big news.
So antayin na lang natin kung sino talaga yung magiging official nominee ng Democrat Party. Okay? Okay, let's continue na. Let's begin na ang ating countdown. Let's now begin our countdown. Creamline pulls off a breakthrough win in the 2024 PVL Reinforced Conference. Creamline nabbed their first victory against Farm Fresh, who remains winless in the conference. Earlier, PLDT and Cheritigo swept Galleries, Tower, High Risers, and Nexled, Chameleons. Catch all PVL games live on One Sports Plus, and the Filipinas Live app.
It took 8 months for Hergy Bakyadan to transition from being a Vovinam player to a boxing player, despite rushing and improving his performance on the ring. Bakyadan is determined to bring Olympic glory from Saarbrücken, Germany. Carlo Pamintuan with the report.
Hergy Bakyadan is in a race against time in terms of trying to catch up in experience against quality opposition. Here today in Saarbrücken, Germany, she will share the ring against a really good opponent, a World Championship silver medalist from Australia.
It was November last year when Hergy Bakyadan won the women's combat 66kg division in the 2023 Vovinam World Championship. 8 months after, she is now fully immersed in a different sport, forging her path towards Olympic glory. 8 months later, she is now completely immersed in a brand new sport, and she is forging her path towards Olympic glory. With a lean field in the women's 75kg division for boxing, Bakyadan was pushed by the Samahang Kickboxing ng Pilipinas to try and qualify for Paris 2024 under the guidance of ABAP. Now it's all about learning as much as she can in the limited time available. Bakyadan has now sparred with the 4-seeded 75kg boxers here in Saarbrücken, Germany. The last of which was Caitlin Parker of Australia, a former silver medalist in the World Championships.
Nakasparing ko na yan Australia nung first world qualifying. So nag-training kami ng Australia. So si Caitlin din talaga nag-kasparing ko ng Australia. Then siya din yung nakalaban ko nung US, nung natalo ako. Pero yung time kasi na yun, hindi ako ganun kondisyon talaga eh. Kasi tigas yung katawan ko. And yung naging sobrang kumpiyansa din ako nung pag-sparring kami. Kasi lagi ko siyang minamasi-masi lang, iniisip-isip lang eh. Kasi hindi ko pinifeel din na world champion siya, malakas siya, or kahit na kilala pa siya. So, parang pares lang kami naman nasa ring na nag-ensayo eh. So, nung ngayon, medyo na-obserban ko yung sarili ko, nakinig ako sa mga coaches kung anong mga technique ang pwede kong i-apply doon. And yun naman, happy naman yung coach ko na kahit pa paano, nagagawa ko naman yung mga training namin from day one na nag-start kami mag-training dito. And na-apply ko naman ng mas maganda, na i-deliver ko naman sa taas ng ring yung mga na-training namin.
So is the additional guidance from her coaches and even some of her teammates.
Sobrang happy nga ako dahil yun nga, na-sharean ako ng mga ganyan kasi parang bihira ka lang din makarinig. Siyempre, parang siyempre ang isip natin, uy, Olympian yan, parang taas yung level niyan. Pero sa kanila, ako na-feel yung parang parang wala ka sa, parang hindi porket qualify ka lang or hindi kita papansinin, parang gano'n. Pero sa kanila, sobrang doon ko na patunayan na talagang sobrang ma-share silang tao, and sobrang na-appreciate namin yun, lalo na sa akin.
And all this experience will be crucial in giving her a shot at finishing on the podium.
Nung day 1 pa lang na nag-start ng training, sobrang na-hype ako, hindi lang sa dahil Olympics to eh. Parang syempre, pribilehiyo bilang sa akin na hindi lang sa akin, sa lahat ng mga atletang Pilipino na makatungtong dito sa Olympic. And sabi ko nga gagalingan ko pa and improve ko pa yung skill na medyo kulang man, pero pakunti-kunti medyo nag-i-improve na, and natutuwa naman ako, mas tumataas yung confident ko, and di na ako makapag-antay na dumating yung Paris Olympics.
From Saarbrücken, Germany, Carlo Pamintuan.
Isang daang taong laban, isang daang taong laban, isang daang taong laban para sa bayan. Isang daang taong laban, isang daang taong laban, isang daang taong laban.
Coming in at our ninth spot. Several persons with disability take part in a fun run in Quezon City. The event was held in the University of the Philippines in Diliman on Saturday. The Philippine Sports Commission says this is part of the observance of the National Disability Rights Week from July 17 to 23. This is also the country's participation in United Nations Convention on the Rights of PWD.
Itong walk, run, and the roll na event ay para talaga sa mga persons with disabilities. Tapos, nag-invite namin yung mga non-disabled to also participate. Kung kinapansin nyo, merong mga persons with disabilities, naka-wheelchair, deaf, blind. Ito yung sinasabi kong konsepto na gusto ko i-develop sa mga kaisipan ng mga tao, yung reverse integration.
For our 8th spot. Severe tropical storm Carina further intensifies while moving slowly. Pag-asa last spotted its center some 420 kilometers east of Tuguegarao City, Cagayan. Carina is forecast to reach typhoon category within 24 hours, but it is seen to remain far from the Philippine landmass before exiting the Philippine area of responsibility on Wednesday. Carina will continue to bring scattered rains over several areas. These include Cagayan Valley, Bicol, Aurora, Quezon, and the rest of Cordillera region.
Now let's get updates on the weather.
Pag-asa weather forecaster Veronica Torres is now on the line. Magandang umaga, Veronica.
Magandang umaga din po sa inyo, pati na rin po sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Yes, Veronica, I mean, will it be a rainy day today sa Metro Manila on Sona? Kasi historically, it's always rain during Sona.
Po, sa ngayon, inaasahan nga din natin na magiging maulan almost full day for today po. So may mga kasamaan tayo sa Regional Services Division na maglalabas ng mga advisory. Also, may nilabas na kaninang 8 a.m. na rainfall advisory kung saan actually, yellow warning na nga tayo pala sa Cavite, Batangas at Bataan. So, possible flooding in flood-prone areas. Tapos, expected natin light to moderate with occasionally heavy rain sa may Zambales, Pampanga, Metro Manila, kabilang tayo, Rizal, Bulacan. At nakaka-apekto na ito sa ibang bahagi ng Laguna at Quezon.
Ay, clarify ko lang sa Metro Manila, specifically Quezon City area, kasi doon ang Sona, no? Wala pang rainfall warning?
Kanina, nung 8 a.m. na nilabas natin, meron na tayong nilabas na rainfall advisory, although yung mga warning level na mga yellow, wala pa naman. Nasa mostly sa may western.
Okay.
Bukod po kay Carina, may mga inaasahan pa bang bagyo ngayong buwan?
So ngayon, ang inaasahan kasi nating bagyo is 2 to 3, although meron na tayong 2. And aside nga dito kay Carina, wala na tayong ibang namomonitor sa ngayon na bagyo sa loob or malapit sa ating PAR.
So yung weather disturbance na nararanasan natin ngayon kay Carina, is there another we're taking a look at na possible na sumabay o wala na?
Kung sa weather disturbance, itong si Carina nagpapaulan mostly eastern part ng Luzon and naghahatak kasi ito ng habagat kaya nagiging maulan din mostly sa western sections ng Luzon kabilang na nga din yung Metro Manila.
Oo. At nagpapalakas dito, Ana, ay ang habagat, tama ba?
Tama po. Ang nangyayari po, itong si Carina, hinahatak yung habagat at yung habagat po yung lumalakas.
Veronica pala.
Veronica, oo. Sorry, ma'am.
Tinawag mong bagyo si...
Karina yung bagyo.
Oh, Carina yung bagyo.
Thank you so much, Pag-asa Weather Forecaster Veronica Torres.
Salamat.
Coming up, are the operations in NAIA back to normal after the global IT outage last Friday?
And what is the top national concern among Filipinos based on Okta Research's latest survey?
We are just getting started, mga kapatid. More of our top 10 news when Brunch returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You are still watching Brunch here on One News.
Good morning sa lahat ng mga viewers natin ngayon.
Sona.
Wherever you are, sa work nyo, si
Wherever
Sampo.
you are there.
Sampo Kimungo, Gary Field, of course, si Ralph Domingo. Thank you for tuning in also. And if you have your comments on what expect nyo sa Sona, gusto nyo marinig, anong kailangan i-address ni Pangulo, please feel free to join in on the discussion. Go ahead.
Dito sa Facebook natin. Okay, let's continue with our countdown. Going straight now to our 7th spot, fighter jets from the Philippine Air Force are part of the Pitch Black exercise in Australia. This is the first time that our Air Force sent its FA-50 aircraft to the multinational exercise. The Pinoy air crews join their foreign counterparts in a series of large and small-scale training. That includes offensive counter and air interdiction operations in a multinational environment.
Ang pagpunta natin dito ay isang pagkakataon upang makita natin kung ano ba ang pwede nating tahaking sa pagmo-modernize dahil nakikita natin kung ano pa yung mas advanced and kung paano ito i-integrate sa kung ano ang meron tayo.
Let's move on to the next. Sitting at the 6th spot is COMELEC. The electoral body has launched a panel that will combat misinformation and disinformation ahead of the 2025 midterm elections. The Task Force Katotohanan, Katapatan, Katarungan sa Halalan will monitor and debunk fake and misleading content on TV, radio, print, and also online. It will also recommend the prosecution of peddlers of misinformation, disinformation, and malicious artificial intelligence and deepfakes. COMELEC insisted it will use its plenary role-making powers to issue rules and regulations despite legal limitations in regulating election propaganda.
Now moving over now to our next countdown for today. Coming in at our top 5, the National Security Council says the country's resupply missions in Ayungin Shoal will continue. NSC spokesperson Jonathan Malaya says these missions will remain purely Philippine operations. This comes after the White House said they will do what is necessary to ensure that resupply missions will continue. On Sunday, the Foreign Affairs Department says the Philippines and China have reached an agreement. This involves the provisional arrangement for the resupply of daily necessities to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. Ito yung kahapon lang mainit-init na balita na pinag-uusapan nga itong arrangement na ginawa between China and the Philippines. Of course, this is in relation pa rin doon sa pinakamainit na nangyari dyan noong June 17, yung insidente kung saan nagkaroon talaga ng harapan between the Chinese Coast Guard and the Philippine Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Actually, the Navy, tapos 'di ba meron tayong sundalo na naputulan ng thumb.
Ang interesting lang ng timing nitong arrangement, no? Dikit sa actual Sona ni PBBM who's maintained a stance na yung West Philippine Sea is ours and we will not make any arrangements because atin yan.
Siguro naman nakita kasi nila that they needed to, de-escalate whatever's happening there sa West Philippine Sea. Kaya lang, yun nga, kung titignan mo in a different perspective, okay, sige, maganda yung mag-uusap tayo, let's resolve this in a peaceful manner, whatever happens, di ba? Kaya lang, ngayon, tatanungin mo, iisipin mo, are we caving in doon sa gusto ng China na magpaalam tayo sa kanila or ipaalam natin sa kanila that we're going to do a resupply missions every time?
We have to take a look first at the context of the arrangement kasi baka, so as long as we do not concede our position sa West Philippine Sea, and
yun naman ang sinabi ni
parang we maintain that we this is ours, you maintain that this is yours, pero at the meantime, huwag tayo mag-away, let's both fly the routes in peace, pwede yung ganun. Pero to say na, pero iba yung sasabihin mo, ang arrangement entails every time lalayag tayo, magpapaalam tayo.
That's a
different story. And that's something that is contrary to PBBM's stance na we will not concede an inch of our territory.
So mamaya, pag-usap, kasama yan for sure, no? Ang issue sa West Philippine Sea sa Sona. Pero yung gaano kalawak, yung magiging kasama nito dun sa speech ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, yan po ang ating aalamin. But for the meantime, I'm sure marami rin kayong mga gustong sabihin tungkol dito. But for the meantime, ituloy po muna natin ang ating countdown for today.
President Bongbong Marcos previously said he wants to discuss a lot of topics in his third State of the Nation address, or Sona. Now, what should we expect in his speech later, and what national concerns should he address?
To answer this, we have political analyst professor, or rather president and CEO of Political Economic Elemental Researchers and Strategist, or peers. We have Ed Montayo on the line. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Magandang umaga sa ating mga napakinig.
Thanks for joining us po today. Siyempre, unang tanong po natin sa inyo, ano po yung assessment ninyo dito po sa second year actually ni PBBM sa Malacanang?
Well, actually, if many of the priorities of the government, no, I think okay naman ang naging performance. So much of it has not been quite discussed in the media, like for example, streamlining of government. No? But if you can remember, the very first thing that the president did when he assumed office was to issue, this a circular, instructing heads of agencies to be the ones to swear in their own officials, their own underlings. Siyempre, ang appointment sa kanya pa din manggagaling, but just the same, it's the direction is towards every agency organizing itself. Of course, the much publicized is our re-strategized or reconfigured approach to addressing the problem in the West Philippine Sea, engaging our counterpart China. Many are, of course, trying to use this as a partisan issue. But to my mind, quite clear. Sa akin, hindi nga dapat ginagamit na partisan dito to kasi security issue ito, no?
Yes.
So this is also something that I'm certain, I'm quite certain the president is going to mention, no, in this Sona. And last but not the least, I precisely asked to be introduced as part of peers because we did a study nationwide. And it revealed that, and I'm quite surprised, of all the agencies, hindi gaano kilala yung agriculture even in the rural area.
Yes.
Pero ngayon, ang mga respondents namin kilala yung agriculture. And what's surprising is that it's not the head of agency who is popular. It's the programs of the department which is popular. And again, this has not been quite covered by the media. So, let's see what the president is going to say in this particular regard.
Yes, speaking of what he might say later, what do you expect him to address given most of the surveys I've seen a drop in his numbers, and particularly if you ask the respondents ano yung issues nila, a lot of them or most of them, majority of them complained about actual prices of food. Although yung prices natin, inflation, medyo bumabagal for some aspects, pero yung food basket natin sa loob ng inflation wheel, medyong mataas pa rin ang presyo. So, do you think he will tackle this moving forward?
I'm sure the president is going to mention something about it, no, because it's one of his priorities. But let me let me get back to you on those supposed survey numbers. Pag tinignan ninyo yung numbers, ang nakalagay doon, 4% plus or minus margin of error for the whole country. No, 2% towards Metro Manila. Now, I don't want to go technical here, but I'm quite I don't know. I find it unusual to say there's a significant drop when there's a 5% drop compared to his March approval rating. Not to mention, of course, that in the midterm, usually ang presidente pagka midterm, talagang, any president usually hit 50%, even 40% approval rating. And so I'm inclined to think that this is still quite good. Not to mention, of course, that, when you're president, all eyes are on you. It's not in the vice president. It's not on the Senate president or not in the House speaker and so on and so forth. And so whatever you do, there will always be movement in numbers. Now, as far as inflation is concerned, it's best to ask an economist in this regard because the way I see it, this is not just a domestic issue. This is a global issue and which has been quite problem the whole time. No? Hindi lang dito sa presidente na itong problema natin yung inflation.
Yes, that's right.
Lalo na pagka nagpa-fluctuate ang presyo ng langis. Alam mo, ang bottom line dito sa atin, hindi tayo kasi producing economy.
Yes.
We're a consuming economy. Lalo na tapos siguro sana mabanggit ng Pangulo yung pagtingin natin dito sa mga lupain natin kasi alam mo ang laking persento na ang nawawala sa agrikultura, no? Gusto nating i-modernize yung agrikultura.
Yes.
Convert naman tayo ng convert na gagawin nating real estate, hindi naman natitirhan, ano? So in other words, as a capital requirement, no? Land is quite fundamental and the government really has to zero in this regard. Lastly, yung rice tariffication.
Yes.
Babanggitin yan for sure, no? Ang tanong, nakakarating ba sa mga farmers
Exactly.
yung
That's
programang yan, no? Nakita na natin yan, ilang taon na yung rice tariffication na yan, mukhang iba ang nakikinabang, ano? So tingnan natin mabuti. Magaganda yung mga pulisya. Alam mo, yan ang problema natin palagi dito sa Pilipinas. No?
Implementation.
Implementation. No? Maganda yung tawag dito, intention, pero Pagdating sa implementation, naiiba bigla eh.
Sir Edmond, this is going to be the first SONA of PBBM na hindi po pupunta ang ating Vice President, si Vice President Sara Duterte. Do you think na magkakaroon po ba ng counter SONA si Vice President after this? Like what former Vice President Leni Robredo did before during the Duterte administration?
That's a possibility, no? But I don't really see the vice president as the usual politico who is going to contradict practically anything and everything that the president is going to do. It's not just her style, unless of course he's going to change her tack. Alam mo, pag tinignan mo yung vice president para sa tatay niya, magkaiba sila ng style eh. Magkaiba ng personalidad, magkaiba ng style. In fact, magkaiba din sila ng grupo.
Yes.
And so I'm inclined to think that if I were the vice president and I will continue with the style that I've been popular with, I will remain objective, and by objective means I can be a critic, but a constructive critic in that regard. Kasi ang problema natin sa politika natin, hindi natin naiintindihan na ang politika tungkol sa pulisiya.
Yes.
Ang intindi natin sa politika natin, puro personalidad. Kasi wala naman tayong mga tunay na political party, kaya hindi programa ang pinag-uusapan.
That's right.
Oo. Ngayon, kung meron tayong hindi gusto sa galaw ng gobyerno, sa pulisiya ng gobyerno, magsulong tayo ng alternative. Para sa ganun, magkatulungan tayo. Ayaw mo pala nito, anong mas maganda?
That's right.
At magbigay ka ng alternative. Hindi yung sasabihin mo, ayoko sa'yo kasi ayoko ng hairstyle mo. Hindi naman tama yun.
Yeah, right. Overall po, ano pong grado mabibigay nyo sa second year ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, 10 being the highest?
I don't think the president has been perfect. I don't think any president has been perfect. But so far, it's been the policies has been quite good, no? So I'm inclined to give him 7, no? But again, it's 7 because there's so much more to be done.
Right.
Correct.
All right, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyo, political analyst Edmond Tayo. Thank you so much. Okay. Baba, marami pa ako gusto itanong sa kanya tungkol
I wanted to ask also na since important SONA to because it's first SONA na separated from Vice President and this is the SONA that will be before the elections. I wanted to ask sana if he expects President Marcos to have a tough stance. Hindi, nagsasalita ka at nakalabas ang ugat sa ulo mo, natakot ako eh. Kung ano yung magiging approach niya against yung supposed new opposition. Anyway, let's move forward. Madaming pa tayong pag-uusapan. Let's switch gears on our fourth spot. A major tech outage hit many airlines, banks, retail stores, and media companies around the world. Passengers were stranded at various airports, including here in the Philippines. The outage was traced to an American cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike. Cybersecurity expert Abet de la Cruz explained on The Big Story how the software update led to the tech outage.
The thing is, just like any other software in the world, it's made by man. So we need to do updates, right? So there's either a feature update or a bug update or a correction in the software. So before you do this, there's supposed to be a lot of testing involved. So apparently, maybe they missed out on something. The update was published, went into production, and it affected Microsoft Windows operating system. So the cause is the Falcon sensor, and it affected Windows.
De la Cruz adds that fixing the problem is simple enough for companies' IT departments, although it will depend on how many computers are affected.
The remediation or the fix to this has to be manual. That means you have to boot it in what we call safe mode, and then upon the given instructions of both Microsoft and CrowdStrike, you have to change some configuration files. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but the term would be mabusisi siya.
I think some of the airlines, or I think an airline here in the Philippines, is thinking of, filing a complaint or case against this. Kasi nga, meron silang isang araw na walang kita eh.
Pero,
walang bookings, walang ano.
Ito ang sinasabi ko
going
matagal
after,
na.
Microsoft.
Ang full dependency natin sa
Yes.
technology. At the end of the day, sabi ko, iba pa rin ang may partial na hindi fully dependence. May backup ka. Diba? So,
Pero syempre, iba nagtatanong, ano ba to? Cyber attack ba to? Or what? Is this just
I mean,
a patikim?
pero
sabi nila, hindi naman.
naranasan ko na yung dependence on technology.
Yes.
When we were stuck in a mall na walang ATM,
Wala tayong pambayad ng parking.
pambayad ng parking kasi lahat ng pera nasa online app. So that's what I'm saying.
Tapos this mall was newly opened,
Yeah.
'di ba? So wala pa silang mga ATM. So tayo na magbabayad tayo ng parking, walang maya, walang
Lastly kasi, 'di ba? In the olden day kasi, yung system nila although naka-input sa computer, meron manual repository ng
Yes.
mga data. So kung kahit mag-down ka, they were able to check it because may direct access. Ngayon, everything is on the cloud. Everything is dependent on IP addresses. And so it's really scary that we have a full dependency because one day kung maisipan ng computer na ayaw na niya tayo pagsilbihan,
wala na, shutdown na lahat.
lalabas na si Arnold Schwarzenegger dyan sa kalye at sasabihin niya, I'll
Terminator.
be back. I'll be back.
Pero hindi, sinasabi nila last na to, yung warning nila dito nga sa nangyari nito, baka daw dumami din yung mga phishing scams, etc. Because there will be a lot of mga scammers that would take this opportunity or take this an advantage for them na tawagan yung mga naapektuhan nito, sabihin nila, kami gagawin namin yan, yung pala mag-fish lang sila ng mga details.
Basta sa phishing scam mo, pag hindi sariwa, wag bumili.
Phishing page. Let's continue with our countdown. Coming hot at the third spot is a POGO scam. The Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission or PAOC has revealed a modus operandi that POGO workers use to scam people. PAOC said it is a love scam targeting lonely and emotionally challenged Americans and Europeans. Under this modus, a POGO worker will pretend as a struggling American who comes from a broken family. After emotionally manipulating their victim, the scammer will convince them to invest in a cryptocurrency scam. PAOC also discovered that POGOs hired psychological experts to help scammers craft their stories.
Ginawa yan ng mga professional psychologists, ganon. Kasi tinitingnan nila kung saan ka weak. Ang weak point mo is yung sawi ka sa pag-ibig, di ba? O kaya ang weakest point na nakikita nila sa'yo dahil sa nakalagay sa profile mo, ikaw ay beauty, di ba? Naghahanap ka ng kalinga.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP has formed a special task force focused on combating illegal POGO operations. Special Task Force Skimmer will conduct law enforcement and intelligence operations to dismantle illegal POGOs. Acting PNP Deputy Chief for Operations Brigadier General Nicolas Salvador emphasized the crimes involved in illegal POGOs including espionage, human trafficking, and scams.
Hey, don't go away because we're not done yet. May dalawa pa tayo. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Brunch here on One News.
It's Sona Day today.
Good morning, kanila Sampo kay Mongo. Medyo mainit ang ulo sa
Yes.
mga topic.
Oo, sila Migs Ebron. Oo, si Gary Field. Marami yan. Si
Oo.
Christopher Rufo na Baldera. Yan.
Wag muna uminit ulo. Di pa naman nag-start yung Sona eh.
Totoo yan.
Pakinggan muna natin, tapos tsaka na uminit ulo kung may kakainitan dapat ng ulo. But madami pa tayong pag-uusapan, so let's move forward. Nagsimula na rin magprotesta ang mga anti-Marcos administration bago pa mag-Sona.
Para po makakuha tayo ng karagdagang impormasyon tungkol dito, makakausap natin live mula sa Commonwealth Avenue ang ating mobile journalist or Mojo na si Francis Orsho. Francis, ano na ba ang latest dyan sa area mo?
Angelo, makikita nyo nga nandito tayo sa kahabaan ng Commonwealth Avenue. Kanina dito nila isinagawa yung kilos protesta ng bagong alyansang makabayan Southern Tagalog. Bilang bahagi yan ng kaunang protesta na gagawin naman mamaya sa main program nila at 1 p.m. dito rin sa may kahabaan ng Commonwealth Avenue. Kanina nasaksihan natin yung ilang mga grupo na pinapanawagan nga yung ilang mga halimbawa na lang yung kontra ka sa Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, yung panawagan nila sa ilang problema sa sektor ng agrikultura sa bahagi ng southern regions dito sa ating bansa. Pero bahagi din ng program nila kanina yung pagsusunog ng FEG, Angela, at nakita natin yon kanina. Pero so far, wala namang apprehension mula sa Philippine National Police at sa Quezon City Police District at mapayapa naman na-disperse ang protesta nila kaninang alas 8 ng umaga. Angelo.
Yes, Francis, ano pa ibang grupo na kasali sa rally? Because I understand pati Manibela daw makikilahok. Pero ang problema, parang sinabi po ng PNP na yung mga ibang grupo na walang permit, this time around talagang huhulihin daw nila kung pumilit daw mag-rally.
Yes, Angelo, kanina yung mga, bukod sa mga youth groups, meron din mga farmers groups at yung piston, grupo ng mga tsuper ng mga jeepney drivers. At bukod doon, syempre yung mga ilang nangunguna sa mga progresibong organisasyon tulad ng Kabataan Party List, ng Gabriela Women's Party, pati na rin yung ilang pang mga grupo na bahagi ng Makabayan Bloc. Bukod doon, yun, yung may mga ilan din tayong mga grupo pa mula sa iba pang sektor na gusto natin ipanawagan yung mga hinaing nila kontra sa Pangulong Bongbong Marcos administration.
Ano-ano ba yung mga pinoprotesta ng mga grupo dyan ngayon?
Ang pinaka-highlight kasi ng panawagan ng mga nagprotesta dito, ipaglaban yung kondisyon ng mga halimbawa magsasaka sa may Southern Tagalog regions kasi may mga ilan daw sabi nila pinupuntahan na ng mga militar tapos halimbawa inaagaw naman ng mga malalaking business yung kanilang lugar at yung mga magsasaka nawawalan ng hanap buhay. May iba naman problema sa urban poor, sa environment at sa labor sector kasi yung iba ang panawagan nila taasan pa yung sahod ng mga manggagawang Pilipino kasi ito nga matatandaan natin kakapasa lang o kakadagdag lang ng minimum wage para sa mga nagtatrabaho ng mga minimum wage earners pero sabi ng mga ilang manggagawang nasa kilos protesta kanina kulang pa raw ito at sana raw ay madagdagan pa ng Pangulo. Yun yung mga ilan sa mga ipinapanawagan nila, Angela.
We'd like, Francis, siyempre we'd like to get an overall mood comparative also to last year because this is the first Sona ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos na nakahiwalay na sa mga Duterte. So comparatively sa last year, do you see a bigger number? Although mamaya pa ang pinaka-peak, do you see a bigger number of mga anti-Marcos rallies?
Sa ngayon, wala pa tayong pinakadatos mula sa bagong alyansang makabayan dahil ito yung pinakamangunay na anti-rally organization para doon sa pagbubuo ng programa na kilos protesta kontra sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Pero ina-expect na libo-libo yung magpa-participate dito sa pangungunahan na protesta ng bagong alyansang makabayan. Pero para doon sa mga ibang grupo kasi meron na rin tayong mga ilang rallies na mga pro BBM rallies at ito nga yung kino-cover natin yung mga anti-rallies. Pero sa ngayon, nakahanda na rin ang Philippine National Police para dito sa libo-libong magpo-protesta. Sabi nga ng PNP chief kanina, ang order niya, maximum tolerance para sa PNP. Pero ayun nga, kung mayroon daw mga kapulisan na masasaktan mula doon sa mga nagpo-protesta, talagang puhulihin nila yung mga magpo-protesta na iyon. Sa ngayon, nasa 22,000, Angela yung nakakalat na PNP personnel mula doon sa Batasan hanggang dito sa Commonwealth Avenue bilang paghahanda nga sa Sona.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Francis Orsio live mula sa Commonwealth Avenue. Okay, dire-diretso na
Diretso na,
tayo.
let's move on. Heating up on our second spot, President Bongbong Marcos signs 2 new laws before his State of the Nation Address, or Sona. The President enacted the National Government Procurement Act. This amends the Government Procurement Reform Act in efforts to fight corruption in government transactions. Aside from this, he also signed the Anti-Financial Account Scamming Act to combat the increase of online scams. Meanwhile, President Marcos ordered new DepEd Secretary Sani Angara to prioritize the welfare of teachers.
Yung unang sinabi niya talaga is alagaan yung mga teacher kasi sila yung nasa puso ng isang education system dito sa ating bansa. Kabisado niya yung mga programa, yung problema ng ating mga teachers pagdating sa pananalapi, sa pag-utang. Sabi niya, tulungan natin sila.
Alright, let's continue with our countdown. Our top story for today are the country's main concerns. A recent Octa survey shows that inflation remains as the top concern among Filipinos. 65% of the respondents said controlling the increase in basic commodity prices is their urgent concern. 40% said their top concern is affordable food, followed by wage increase, poverty reduction, and free quality education. Meanwhile, the top 3 urgent personal concerns are health, food, and education. Now, to get more information about this, we have Octa Research Fellow Professor Guido David via Zoom joining us
Good
today.
morning, Professor Guido.
Yes, good morning, Angela and Angelo, and good morning sa mga viewers and listeners natin on our Sona Day today.
Yes, Prof, let's get right to it now. What were the national issues ba during the survey na we can consider as factors sa resulta?
Well, actually, marami tayong issues during the survey period, which was conducted June 26 to July 1, 2024, nationwide survey, 1,200 respondents. But yung inflation, although bumaba ng konting inflation, I think it's nasa 3% na lang, it's still above the healthy level of, or the normal level of 2%. So that means even though as you na-mention nyo kanina, nagkaroon ng wage hike, hindi pa rin nakakasabay yung salary increases or yung minimum wage hike dun sa pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. So that's why we're seeing siguro continued pa rin, although bumaba siya slightly from our previous quarter. Previous quarter, it was actually at 66%. Ngayon, 65% of Filipinos considered controlling the increase in prices of basic goods and services as the number one national concern, followed by access to affordable food like rice, vegetables, and meat, and then increasing wages or salaries of workers, and then creating more jobs and reducing poverty, 28%.
I'd like to ask lang about yung inflation because although yung inflation natin numbers medyo bumabagal, no, Prof. Pero if you take a look at the numbers also, it remains high pa rin yung food inflation specifically. So do you think you mentioned food prices remain high, so do you think yung food inflation na ito is one of the primary concerns that we are seeing for most Filipinos now?
It's definitely a primary concern, and hopefully the president will be able to address this during his Sona, what steps we're taking. The administration has already undertaken many steps towards making the price of yung rice in particular more affordable.
That's right.
But it's still higher now. I mean it's still high, especially for the average Filipino. Now they're coping with their budgets and making ends meet.
If you break down the survey, Prof, yung inflation nga, since inflation yung top concern, saan ba mas mataas yung concern ng inflation? Sa Luzon ba, sa Visayas, or sa Mindanao?
Actually, sa Mindanao, pinakamataas at 71%. of respondents saying inflation is the primary concern, and relatively mas mababa sa NCR, 59%. Also sa D, pinakamataas siya, 66%, whereas sa ABC, 59%. So you can see na obviously mas affected yung lower socio-economic classes. That's obvious. Pero sa Mindanao, for some reason, they're also more affected by yung inflation and even by other factors. That's their primary concern talaga, yung inflation.
Oh, it's also nga po alarming din kasi yung parang late last year ng 2023 and earlier of this year, ang sinasabi po dun sa mga nakaraang survey, yung Mindanao po, yung medyo mas mataas-taas yung nila, yung ang tawag dito, hindi nila kino-consider yung self nila na kulang sa pagkain because yun yung they can produce their own food, 'di ba? Pero right now, dun po base po sa inyong survey, meron po silang problema doon din pagdating sa pagkain. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's true. Kumaga, food security should be higher in Mindanao because yung farms nila, I mean, a lot of the farms are there. But at the same time, 41% of respondents did say na yung access to affordable food like rice, vegetables, and meat is higher. In our previous survey, Angela and Angelo, ang isang lumabas na results to sa self-rated poverty naman is actually high, very high in Mindanao.
Yes.
About 70% in about 7 out of 10 people from Mindanao, whereas it was relatively lower in Metro Manila and Balanced Luzon, nasa 30% lang. So this disparity means na siguro we need more resources pooled sa Mindanao. Sometimes it happens na yung resources maybe not efficiently utilized sa Mindanao for some reason. So we need to address those concerns and yun siguro yung reason kung bakit medyo nahirapan yung mga Mindanao.
Right. And lastly, Prof, nakita ko rin kasi sa survey yung merong percentage din na pagtaas ng mga they consider themselves mga newly poor.
Self-rated poverty.
Oo, 'di ba? So, ano po ba yung circumstances? Bakit po nagkaroon ng pagtaas ngayon ng mga newly poor sa sector?
Well, yun nga, sometimes the allocation of resources may not be, fully utilized or efficiently utilized in some areas. And so maybe jobs and opportunities are not as abundant in some areas. Kasi syempre, sometimes we know that kung meron tayong mga local governments who are getting resources, then, mas nagbo-boom yung economy, there's more construction, there's more infrastructure projects, and this creates more jobs. So maybe there's less of it in Mindanao right now.
Right.
Kasi as opposed to kunyari ng previous administration, the president was from Mindanao. So obviously, if the president is from Mindanao, then they'll
Mas
make
malapit
sure
sa kusina.
Yes, parang ganon, but not so in this case. So yun nga, hopefully ma-address yan ng ating president in the Sona.
All right. Thank you, Professor Guido David of Octa Research for joining us this morning on Brunch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Ayun, so sa lahat ng mga sa reactions, thank you for sharing your comments. Oo, and if you have any violent reactions,
wag na mag-violent.
Wag na mag-violent reactions.
Pero
mamaya
pero tama yan.
What time yung speech ni Pangulo? It's 4 o'clock
4 o'clock. Meron po tayong coverage dito sa One News that would be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Kala ko nga 3 a.m. ka pa.
3 p.m. Okay, 3 p.m. Kasama po natin si Gretchen Ho, si Sean Yao.
Saka si Angela Lagonzal.
Mamaya po yan. So this is actually the opportunity for us to dig deeper doon sa mga ginawa ni Pangulong Marcos, doon sa mga campaign promises niya. Alin ba doon yung mga nasunod? Alin ba dito yung mga hindi? No? This is not actually the time to celebrate the president, but most importantly, mas scrutinize natin siya kung meron ba siyang mga nagawa. At makita din natin kung ano yung mga nagawa na pabor, 'di ba, dito sa ating mamamayan.
Okay. At dahil Sona, I'd like to share a quote para sa mga reminder sa mga atin ng mga politiko. And the quote is, in a democracy, dissent is an act of faith. J. William Fulbright. And that wraps up today's episode of Brunch.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.